Now, everyone is familiar with Silicon Valley, the classic home of technology. What people are less familiar with, though, is that many investors and entrepreneurs are starting to leave the Bay Area, and technology is making location less important. Enter the Startup City. The ideas from this video are from an article published by Balaji Srinivasan on his excellent newsletter, 1729. I highly recommend you all check it out and read it for yourself. I'll leave a link below in the description to his Twitter, the article, and the website itself. Now, in his article, Balaji starts talking about this concept of startup cities by discussing Miami. There are many reasons why he's pro-Miami, but one of the biggest is because he believes that tech investment in Latin America is long overdue. One thing he notes is that many Latin Americans are drawn to crypto because of decades of currency instability. With people becoming more open to remote work, time zones are going to become even more important. Individuals who are located in the same time zones as their North American coworkers will naturally be considered more because of the advantage of synchronous communication. Basically, it's the ability to communicate while everyone's awake during normal working times. It is extremely hard to keep teams on the same page that are separated globally. It's not impossible, but it does make it a lot easier so that team members don't have to either stay up super late or wake up really early to communicate with one another. Miami has been called the Singapore of Latin America, and with a shift towards more decentralization, it's exciting that a city outside of Silicon Valley can take such a huge leap into the future of technology. Now, a lot of the talk that surrounded Miami basically started from a meme that surfaced from Twitter. Delian Asparohov tweeted on December 4th of 2020, "Okay guys, hear me out. What if we move Silicon Valley to Miami?" Not missing a step, Miami Mayor Francis Suarez shot back a tweet that is now infamous around the tech world: "How can I help?" Ever since then, Miami Mayor Francis Suarez has been convincing people to vote with their wallets and their feet instead of just their ballots. There's a lot of time that has to pass before you see the effects of a shift like this, but it's something to definitely keep an eye on. Suarez has tapped into technology, capitalism, and emigration on top of democracy. And his approach to social media is one that encourages positive-sum games, where people win and help others win, instead of alienating half of his constituents. Balaji coined Suarez as the first CEO of the city. He's acting as if he's the chief executive of a city that's bigger than itself, and then willing it into being. If Miami pulls top talent in finance, tech, and entertainment from the Bay, New York, and Los Angeles, it's going to be interesting to see where things end up. This naturally leads you to consider what would happen to the people that already live in a city like Miami that chooses to go the startup route. One way to think of this is in the concept called crowdchoice. Balaji defines crowdchoice as how the internet will permit collective bargaining with governments. Miami happened because Mayor Suarez was on top of his Twitter game and saw the opportunity to connect with other industry leaders through local meetups, online consensus, mass visitation, and a mass migration. But what if that hot, humid weather isn't for you or the crowd that you belong to? Some people have visa constraints, need to be near certain time zones, or just have other things they care about. In this case, the individuals in an online community could use an app to pull together their preferences and nominate a leader to interact with governments on their behalf. There are already great existing tools out there for digital nomads, including nomadlist.com and teleport.org. These are search engines that are geared more towards the individual, but in the future, we might see tools that are more geared towards collective migration. The process of Mayor Suarez putting the Bitcoin white paper on the Miami Gov website, doing public talks about Bitcoin, and drawing people into the city based off of their interests all reinforce this concept of crowd choice. It is now feasible for crowds to digitally select where they want their physical jurisdictions to be. Now, some people make the argument that whatever new community diaspora within tech is made, it won't concentrate in a single city. And to that, Balaji says, that's true. The next Silicon Valley will be in the cloud. It'll be made by globally digital nomads who move to places that favor immigration and technology and leave places that don't. Balaji made this chart for his 2013 talk on Silicon Valley's ultimate exit. Referencing it, we can look at Miami Tech Week as a cloud gathering of thousands of people for a week, and the mass migration to follow as a kind of embryonic cloud city. It's possible now because much of technology is cloud-based. In his words, it's not just Gmails, iPhones, Facebooks, and Ubers. All the cultural features have been digitized too. Physical locations are starting to matter less for all aspects of entrepreneurship and education. Platforms like YouTube, Reddit, Stack Overflow exchanges, Coursera, Udemy, even your library card. All give you insane resources to learn anything you want. Balaji expands on this and says that physical locations are starting to matter less in the startup world. Because of the pandemic, things were forced to move away from physical locations. This leads us into the trend that could possibly be the next big wave of the 2020s. Startup cities. Balaji's 3 definitions of a startup city include: 1, a city where startups happen, think classic San Francisco. 2, a city that acts like a startup, like Miami or Dubai. Or 3, a city that is a startup itself, like Prospera, Cul-de-sac, the city of Tolosa, or Starbase, Texas. Starting a new city feels like something that's impossible to do, but really it's pretty straightforward. If you think about how many people have come into contact by following the same things online like subreddits or sports team social media accounts, it doesn't sound that crazy. There's been a meme that's been around since SpongeBob, and that is, why don't we just take Bikini Bottom and push it
somewhere else?
I think that can genuinely happen when enough people who care about a certain value decide to use the leverage of the internet and do something about it. Ultimately, it will come down to some type of leader who acts as a founding influencer who also has a bare piece of land. Today, you can rally around a cause, design a city online, recruit a critical mass of people, move there, and then build it. Miami is not there yet, but in 10 years, who knows how the landscape is going to change in other cities and states too. Wyoming, yes, the least populated state in the US, is even starting to get in on the tech game and legalize DAOs, or decentralized autonomous organizations. The sub-federal government of the US is changing drastically. Mayors and senators are creating online brand identities and are looking to build true broad-based prosperity. But even then, Balaji says that the trend is understated. It's bigger than just Miami, Texas, Wyoming, and the US. Cloud capitals, startup cities are rising up all around the world. These include places like Estonia, Singapore, Taiwan, Israel, Dubai, New Zealand, and those cities we mentioned earlier like Cul-de-sac, Starbase, and Prospera. We can all sit back and watch as real estate prices change around the world as remote jobs, crypto economies, and Starlink internet access change how we work and live. Land in specific time zones might become more valuable possibly, and dense cities may no longer have the same draw as they did before. Right now, it's hard to see exactly how it'll play out, and maybe it doesn't. All I'm saying is, it would not shock me if this is something that became more common in society. Cities are going to have to compete with each other to get the top talent in whatever sector of the economy they specialize in, much like how they already do now. The difference is it's possible that we see them at a much smaller scale, and with values that are much more aligned, which, in theory, should end up being more of a net positive for all of us. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the future of cities down below in the comments. Is this a crazy idea? What do you think is going to happen? Huge thank you again to Balaji Srinivasan and his incredible newsletter 1729. I'll leave a link to that below. Again, I don't consider myself an expert in this, but I'm just a really curious person who enjoys learning from people who I consider to be a lot smarter than I am. If you're anything like me, I would love to continue this journey of learning and sharing together. I'd also really appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video, subscribed, and shared this with a friend who you think would find the topic interesting. Thank you again for taking the time to watch us all the way through. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.